Welcome back, everybody, to Masters Tour Las Vegas, where we are just about ready to jump into our final Swiss round, round number 12. And before we do so, however, I am joined by a very special guest, Grand Master Hearthstone player, Zalay. How are you enjoying it, buddy?
This event's awesome. It's in my hometown, so it's just don't have to travel, get to play some awesome Hearthstone. I've been enjoying the event quite a bit. I really like Bomb Warrior, so it's been just great for me. Bomb Warrior mirrors, you know, it's hard to do a million in a row, but one or two, I think there's a lot of interesting decisions that really impact the outcome, so I enjoy it quite a bit.
I think the perfect amount of Bomb Warrior mirrors is in between 0 and 1, somewhere in that kind of region.
Well, I think 1 to 2.
Okay, well...
So we can overlap at 1 anyways.
We're just never going to get along, frankly. But I'm very happy to be casting with you. We've done it a couple times before, and it's been a good time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I asked to not cast with Derek this time, but they said he's the only one available, so... You know.
That is a lie.
That actually is a lie.
That is a lie.
They said you can cast with anyone. I said, I want the guy in the cast. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well... There we go. Moving on, at least, we are going to be going into our first match here of our initial match of round 12, which is going to be A83650, player famed for a very good performance last year in the HCT system, up against Dr. J. A8 here is on the Rogue. What do you think of his list?
Well, he's got 2 Spirit of the Shark, a very controversial card. Some players love it. A lot of pro players love it. I've played with it quite a bit. It's a lot of fun. There's a debate about what sharks say. Have you ever entered into that debate? Do you like that one?
I have. I believe sharks go roar.
Well, I think it's more of a rar, but you're pretty close. I'll take it.
The English pronunciation, I'm saying.
The English pronunciation, yeah. So a Shark Rogue, minion heavy. It's got 1 Novice Engineer in there, obviously Togwaggle, all the normal good stuff there. But the main debate is whether is Shark too slow, and then here's the opponent, Bomb Warrior.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic matchup already, the Rogue versus the Bomb Warrior. There's been a lot of talk back and forth about who is favored. I believe here in Las Vegas, at least at the start of today, it was like 51% for Warrior over the Rogues in this matchup, which is like not the kind of edge you're looking for, I think, as the Bomb Warrior.
I don't buy that stat line for a second. Now, it has something to do with how the Warrior is built. This Warrior has a few extra defensive cards than arguably necessary. It has the second Brawl. It has Elysiana, which makes a lot of sense in this metagame. It's a great call for this metagame. But for this particular matchup, you really want to be aggressive as the Warrior and kill the Rogue and apply pressure. So if you're not built with the second Brawl and an Elysiana, and you have some slightly more aggressive stuff, maybe another Acolyte of Pain or an Elec, I think you're quite a bit more than 50% favored as a Warrior. That's, in fact, why I brought Warrior to the tournament. I would talk to other pros and they would say Rogue versus Warrior, oh, it's kind of a close matchup. And my feeling after playtesting the matchup quite a bit is it's actually quite heavily favored for the Warrior, and that's why I wanted to bring Warrior to this tournament.
I think that's definitely the opinion I've been having a little bit more and more as we do get a good look at these two players, A83650 there. As you see, I'm glad that he's doing pretty well in this tournament. I think he was somewhat hard done by in his World Championship appearance, not getting the performance he was looking for. But then Dr. J, kind of a switch here between you and him, as he has been known as quite the caster as of late. But now he's the one doing well in tournaments, and you're the one doing well in casting.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, Dr. J's he's a character. I love that dude. He's great to hang out with. And whoa, he's got a bit of a power hand here. How much of that are you keeping? Do you think Dr. Boom is too slow of a keep against Rogue?
I do not think that it is too slow of a keep versus Rogue. I think especially when he has the coin 3-drop into 3-drop that he can choose to magnetize or not. Yeah. I think this was a pretty easy 3-keep.
I think Dr. J's mulligan is reasonable. Snip Snap's a very powerful card. The one reservation I have about it is that as the Warrior, the #1 thing I'm looking for off the mulligan is 1-drops. Hitting a Town Crier and a Eternium Rover on turn 1 against Rogue is absolutely huge.
That's true.
But I think the cards he had and that he kept are just a little bit too good to throw away. So I support his decision here, and he's rewarded for keeping that Clockwork Goblin. He's got some bomb action to support it.
I'm interested to hear your opinion on how good you think the 1-drops are on coin versus on play, because I agree, when you're on the coin, they can obviously activate their miscreants anyway, whether you play the 1-drop so they can backstab them or not, because they can just coin the miscreant out. On play, is it equally as important as the Warrior to find the 1-drops?
Yeah, I don't worry too much about backstab miscreant in particular. Like, the miscreant's going to come down. If they have a coin, they're going to be able to make a play on turn 2 and 3 either way. So I don't think it's too big of a deal that particular turn that they get a backstab.
Dr. J just taking it a little bit slower here and hero powering on turn 2 instead of coining out what I would assume was the obvious play of the Clockwork Goblin. I guess it has the merits of holding on to the coin primarily, which smooths out the curve a little bit later on, maybe going coin blast Master Boom on turn 6, but it is a little bit more passive.
Yeah, exactly. He's looking at these 2 7-drops in hand. He's valuing coining out 7 into 7 higher than coining 3 into 3. And I could go the other way on that decision. You know, there's the argument that stats in play now is very often just the most important thing. But, you know, this is another benefit to the turn 2 hero power. He did set up a turn 3 shield slam if that's, you know, the kind of game plan he's looking for. Kill everything so it's all dead. If it doesn't hit you in the head, you probably win in the long run, right?
I would fully agree with that. As it especially looks like now he's stabilized the board, quote unquote, by killing 1 minion with a shield slam. And now he gets to turn things around, shuffling the bombs into A83650. I'm just going to go with A8 for now. Into his deck, which is, it may seem relatively innocuous for the moment, but I think it's very possible that Coin Blast Master Boom just ends the game. Or puts him decisively in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing here this game is A8 had such a weak turn 4 there. He's pretty far behind, and he's up against a strong warrior hand. So A8 knows he's behind at this point, and he's looking to kind of crawl his way back in with the Togwaggle. That's a very powerful card against warrior. A lot of times picking draw 3, pairing a bunch of cheap stuff together in one turn with a shark can do some crazy stuff. So he's not out of the game, but it's definitely looking good for Dr. J here.
I'm personally a huge Wondrous Wand fan. You always pick the wand.
And look, Dr. J's curve, I mean, this goes back to his turn 2 decision to hero power. Now on turn 5, he's shuffling in 2 bombs.
Yeah.
On turn 6, he'll shuffle in that 3rd bomb with the Wrench Caliber attack and coin out the Blast Master Boom. Really, things are lining up well for how he did play this.
And I guess if we look at the way it would have worked out if he had gone Coin Clockwork Goblin, he would have been met, I would imagine, very swiftly with Backstab Miscreant. And then it's a completely different game. The lackeys start coming down. He's playing reactively instead of proactively.
You were trying to get me to make that point earlier.
Well, you realized it eventually, Zelensky.
Yeah, we got there in the end. We're doing great.
I'll be a little bit more obvious with my hinting in future. I'll just write it down on this side and tell you exactly what to say.
I'm setting you up. I thought that was a pretty unique pan out. Usually Rogue has kind of a lot of 3-drops, and it's not that big of a deal. But he happened to have a lot of miscreants and not a lot of other 3-drops.
Yeah. However, I think for Dr. J, it's the turn we've been talking about for quite a while now. It seems pretty easy on this turn.
The big boy.
You play the biggest boy.
All the noise. I remember there was a community poll on what's the strongest card in Hearthstone ever. Yeah. Like, everything was on there, like pre-nerf, Undertaker, 4-mana Call to Arms. And I think the community answer was old Dr. Boom that made 2 boom bots. Now, imagine 6 boom bots.
How
Is that good?
Yeah, I think I would play this card in my deck.
The community thought 2 boom bots is good. Now we get 6.
I know, my perception has been so warped. When players play it for 2 boom bots, I'm like, oh god, it's so sad for them. They had to settle for this terrible card.
All right, so A8's got to deal with a full board of boom bots, and how does he do with this stuff? It's a tough call. Yeah, I mean, Unleash Beast is kind of he doesn't have a clear plan for using it now. He needs the step 1 is survive, right? Yeah. He's working on that. But after step 1 survive, it probably taxes his resources quite a bit. So having Unleash later will help him not run out of gas.
I think A8 is actually not in that bad of a position here. He can soak up most of the boom bots without taking too much damage to his face. And then afterwards, he's got the Togwaggle, potentially even with a Shadow Step to go with the Wondrous Wand as well. And he can start to get a lot of value and rebuild some of those resources he spent on clearing this board.
Okay.
I don't think he's in a particularly good spot, but the game isn't over as I thought it could be when the Blastmaster came down.
Yeah, he's still at a high life total. He's got a lot of resources in his hand.
Problem is, against Warrior, when they slam Dr. Boom Mad Genius, value becomes an awful lot less useful because it's just nigh on impossible to stick anything on board at all. So you really just want to get a slightly higher damage hand, I would say, than value.
Right, the rush just clears everything from Dr. Boom forever.
Pretty much.
And so A8 might be on kind of a burn plan at that point, but he's got a long ways to go. Dr. J's at 25 with a shield block and a Dr. Boom. That's sort of 37. That's a lot to burn through, but I've seen Rogue do it before. I mean, Rogue can sometimes burn 40+ damage.
Very possibly.
Especially with King Togwaggle drawing 3 0-mana cards. That goes a long way. He's got that Ethereal Lackey. That could do anything.
Yeah. I'm always baited into. I mean, I know that the Ethereal Lackey is the best one, but I feel like in this matchup, the cards that you're really looking for are less valuable than in the tempo matchups, because Rogue has so many fantastic spells that generate tempo. But in terms of value, it's like Togwaggle's scheme is kind of one of the better ones. I guess just damage with Eviscerate is kind of the best of what you're looking for.
So this is kind of an interesting turn. He could go face. Oh, he's going to try and win the flip. I thought he was going to go face with this 1-2 and Witchy Lackey it and play King Togwaggle and then maybe Shadow Step the Togwaggle.
So many options.
There's a lot of decisions every turn in this metagame, which makes things really complicated and interesting, I would say.
It really does, because Shadow Stepping the Togwaggle is not even necessarily, I think, something he wants to do this game, because like, having the 5-5 on board is really good, and also the Shadow Step, I think, could be saved for something more useful, like a Leroy or a Life Drinker, because value is not something that he's low on at the moment. With 2 Unleash the Beasts able to be played and a Wondrous Wand, I'm assuming that he'll throw down on this turn, I think he just needs a way to turn this value into damage to face.
Well, I think the way to do that is Shadow Stepping the Togwaggle to get another 3-0 mana cards and
Very
pairing
possible.
a bunch of stuff together with Sharks. I mean, it's just that the 5-5 dies so easily to boom. So I want to focus on the spell damage, the charge damage, rather than trying to make minions happen. Ooh, Black Hole. That's pretty convenient against Dr. Drjikininki's hero power.
That's actually not that bad.
Played around it.
Yeah, I mean, A8 himself doesn't really have that much ability to activate it, unless like he could generate Kobold Lackeys and turn them from 2 damage into 3 damage.
Ooh.
Now we're talking.
We're really doing something. No, it's Warpath protection for the rest of the game.
Oh, that's true, actually, yeah.
I just hope it doesn't win the brawl, right? Okay, so Dr. J choosing not to magnetize this first either part of this Snip Snap.
Oh
He's just going wide.
Snip Snap is so good with Dr. Boom.
Snip Snap is so good, yeah, but with the Dr. Boom, the Death Rattles get rushed too, and it's just, it kills everything. It's also good with that Eternium Rover there, like when you magnetize it against different removal toolkits, but he was playing around the sap that you can see in A8's hand. And here's a Life Drinker. That's a good... All right, Life Drinker SI. This will pair really well with a Shark.
Yeah, this was pretty reasonable. Like you said, if he can find the Shark, this is a pretty respectable amount of damage he's got now. As it's got to be said, I think with the amount of value he has in hand, I think A8 can be fully expecting to lose board from here on in.
So
Oh, yeah.
many options.
He's very much on a burn plan. Like, as soon as you see Dr. Boom and your opponent has all those cards, it's like, all right, minions aren't actually going to stick. We need to burn through all of this damage, and it's... He's going for the opposite plan. He's saying minions need to stick. I just don't have enough burn in the world. I got this Unleash the Beast. That's a card that says play for board, and so that's what he's doing.
It's such a tough situation, because if you go for the burn plan and they play Ziliax magnetized onto a minion, it almost feels like you can just give up at that point, because the amount of lifesteal they get.
Yeah.
Like, from where A8 is sat, we need to kind of pretend we can't see Dr. J's hand. He doesn't know that it's all mechs that can rush in and clear the board.
Well,
maybe he's hoping that there's not all mechs that can clear the board.
And we're looking at Dr. J's hand. If A8 had gone for a burn plan, like I was suggesting, he's looking at 2 shield blocks and a Ziliax.
Right.
All of the healing.
You never get there then.
So it's just really hard both ways. Picks up the Scrap Pound. It scales so nicely with the Ziliax.
Oh, yes.
The double life steal.
The
Life steal,
armor and
steal.
the heal.
Yeah.
Armor steal, coming soon to a Hearthstone near you.
Yeah, I mean, they do that sometimes. Like, you get the card and then you get the mechanic later. I wouldn't be shocked. Nope, not Comboy, just spending all of his mana.
Yeah, effectively a board clear here. For all intents and purposes, just leaving out the Black Hell Gunspire, which again, A8 has no ability to kill off, as the burn plan is looking pretty miserable. And in terms of the value board control game plan, I don't know, maybe you were right in terms of him just he should have been looking for Togwaggle with this Shadow Step.
Could have
been just sitting there doing nothing.
You know, it's very difficult to say, you know, just because the game panned out this way doesn't mean his decision was wrong. But looking at the hand now, you do wish the Shadow Step could become a Togwaggle. The 5-5 in play didn't necessarily change too much.
And, I mean, I can fully understand why he thinks that it was correct to go for this line of play, because very often as Warrior, the worst thing that can happen to you is that you fall behind on board, especially when they have Dr. Boom in play, because you just never get back on board at that point. And so he's thinking the 5-5 in play, especially when upgraded, would help him solidify board control and therefore equal more damage in the long run. But it just has quite clearly not worked out that way.
Yeah, Dr. J has just kind of got it all. You know, he's got Dr. Boom, Blastmaster Boom, all the life gain, all the removal. It's an uphill battle for the Rogue in this game. The best for last.
All right, so in that case, if A8 is in a very much uphill battle here, what is his win condition? What should he be moving towards now to stand a chance against all this board control that Dr. J has?
Well, he's got some cards that generate random cards, so sometimes those do very cool things. He can't really commit to a particular plan right now because his hand doesn't actually have a particular plan. So at this point in the game, he's kind of just trying to hang out, be efficient, and keep himself in the game long enough for Hearthstone to present him an opportunity to capitalize on.
Right.
But there isn't really a specific plan that's going to work well here. Just hang on and hope something comes to you is kind of it. So he's trying to kill Dr. J's stuff so Dr. J's stuff doesn't kill him. That's, you know, he's playing defense,
yeah,
right? Playing for board. I guess that's the plan.
And I guess maybe from where A8 is sat, if Dr. J has no Omega assemblies, no good minions in hand, like his hand could be full of removal, at which point A8 can survive for long enough.
Now this he was looking for. He set this up beautifully. He's been trying to get the Spell Lackey for the Phantom Knife since the start of this turn. A8 did a wonderful job of setting this up. He played 2 and out, and he's getting rewarded. Not only clearing the board to protect himself, but also drawing deeper into his deck to try and find, you know, a proactive game plan to start, you know, getting closer to actually winning the game instead of just being alive still. And Dr. J, on the flip side of that, thinking about how to most efficiently murder A836.
Yeah, I mean, there's just such a plethora of ways to deal with it, right? We could see Devastator first on the Gunspire, because...
Wow, you really respect the Gunspire.
I don't know, like, he just wants the minion in play, right? Like,
right, and the Gunspire's not a mech, right?
It's not, no. So Dynamatic is not something you want to consider.
Because I was looking at lines like Acolyte Dynamatic if the Gunspire were a mech. That'd be so, it'd be a full clear draw 3, develop a 3/4, but
that'd be a pretty cool play.
But he needs to deal with the Gunspire. So the Gunspire, as much as A numbers didn't like it, it did some good things for him.
Yeah.
And here's the Shark.
There
now
we go.
This
is what he needed.
Yeah.
To have a chance. We could even see another 2 draws with the Novice Engineer as Dr. J is willing the bombs into existence more and more coming through.
Oh,
That's 3!
Woo! Ring the bell. Oh, only 3?
Oh,
there it is.
What?
Insane. Dr. J was casting it with his hand motions. He was doing 4 bombs. Yeah, baby.
This is why I love to see Dr. J play. He's excited. He loves to play Hearthstone.
That's some good stuff. Woo! Cinched a nice clean win in game 1. He was never really in any danger there.
And I'm very thankful for to the Hearthstone gods there for just ripping the bandage off there, because we could see where that game was going for a while there.
Yeah, and it did get it over with, thankfully.
Yeah, we're done with that. And now for A8, it's a new game. He gets to switch over to his secondary or tertiary deck. Again, what with this being specialist format. And taking a look at his deck list that he has available, I would have to imagine that he has an anti-warrior deck. It's generally the done thing with Rogue is you stick in a bunch of greedy stuff in there to fight against the warriors, which he does have in his secondary deck with Cairn Bloodhoof and Mountain Giants in his Rogue. That's pretty spicy.
That is so spicy. I love to see that. That's one of those ideas I'd kind of toyed around with, but I didn't find the courage to try it out.
Right.
He evidently has and has experienced quite a bit of success with it, so that's pretty cool to see. 2 Mountain Giants, taking advantage of the fact that his early turns very often draw cards, stuff like Novice Engineer and Cable Rat and Miscreant and Blink Fox, keeping his hand size high so the Mountain Giant is cheap. And you don't get that opportunity to main deck Mountain Giant because other decks will just murder you. But against Warrior, where they're played a little bit slow maybe, you get that Mountain Giant down and start killing them, right?
I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how the Mountain Giants will shake out, because I think one of the weakest aspects of play in Specialist overall has been sideboarding against Warrior specifically, because players have just had no idea how to do it. In Mage at first, they were putting in Hexlord Malacrass and like these really janky, huge minions that were just way too slow because you play it on turn 8 and then you die the next turn because they're just shuffling bombs into your deck. And I don't know, maybe Mountain Giants is a little bit more on the money. You can play them out early and just put on some pressure.
Well, it comes down to a question of how fast the Warrior comes out of the gates. So Mountain Giant is a card that's really good when your opponent's not playing a bunch of minions to pressure you in the first 3 turns.
Yeah.
So if your opponent is playing minions to pressure you in the first 3 turns, Mountain Giant's quite weak. It's hard to answer those minions and have hand size to play the Giant efficiently. So that's what it's all about. Is Warrior going to have that 1 drop into coin 3 into 3 kind of curve?
Yeah.
Also, the Mountain Giants, another big factor is the Mountain Giant player on the coin? Because not only is the coin an extra card for the Mountain Giant, but also the extra card you draw.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors here. I definitely have reservations about the idea of the Mountain Giant tech. While it's very powerful if you play it, like when you're on the coin, you get that hand. My approach to the matchup from the Warriors' perspective is pressure. I'm aggressively looking for that early minion curve, and I'm trying to go face. The Warrior is kind of the beatdown in the matchup.
Yep.
It varies a little bit with lists, but generally, the Warrior can go face with his minions very consistently, and the Rogue ends up trading into the Warrior minions. And Mountain Giants don't always fit into that game plan. It just depends on how the hands pan out, I suppose.
And you want to know what's even more interesting about the Mountain Giants is it looks like, with Dr. J switching over to his tertiary deck, that the Mountain Giants have forced him into switching to his anti-mage deck here.
Ooh.
With the Warrior. He's gone for the list that has 2 Super Colliders and 2 Big Game Hunters, clearly an anti-mage tech, to deal with these Mountain Giants. That's pretty spicy.
All right, does he want to Hecklebot the Mountain Giant deck? That sounds a little risky.
I guess
No, he goes to the
Harvest
Harvest Golem. The Harvest Golem's a nice mech to set up to magnetize the Snip Snap on, right?
I don't know. I didn't think the Hecklebot was that bad, right? It gives you a 3 into 4 curve. It's very unlikely to pull something devastating.
Well, the Harvest Golem gives it a 3 into 4 curves. You go Harvest Golem into Snip Snap, and then you eat some 3/3 or 1/4 or whatever.
I'm a spend all my mana gamer every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Well, you could Shield Slam for 2 on turn 4. Problem solved.
That's perfect. Even if your opponent doesn't develop anything, you can
just
shield slam your own minion.
Genius.
I love these plays.
All right, yeah, he plays the Harvest Golem rather than the Acolyte of Pain because he's setting up to magnetize Snip Snap to kill his opponent's 3-drop.
And it's looking like it will be pretty good, actually.
And Blink Fox is a beautiful turn 3 for setting up for the turn 4 Mountain Giant. It's a big deal that A8's on the coin with this Mountain Giant. That really helps the Mountain Giant to be good.
Deadly Arsenal as well is not necessarily that bad. It's not dead, at least. It's just a 6-mana deal 4 damage, I believe, as it reveals a weapon from your deck and then deals damage equal to its attack to all minions. So with the Waggle pick in the deck, AA, if he falls behind, might be able to use that to his advantage.
So this is it. This is the big payoff for A8. He built his deck around this. He was on the coin. He had the Blinks Fox on 3, and at the end of it, he just got hit by a sideboard tech for another deck.
Yeah, how's that payoff looking for you then?
Ouch. Ouch.
Dr. J is kind of just crushing A8 at the moment. This doesn't really seem very fair so far.
No, it's been lopsided. Dr. J playing stuff, going face. A8 struggling to stay alive, let alone win any kind of game.
Yeah. And so now the game plan for AA, looking, I mean, even ignoring value, late game win condition, whatever, it's get back on board. He has to win this back if he's going to have any chance in this game whatsoever.
All right, well, this is a good start. Coin Miscreant SA7 is a very powerful tempo swing turn. Spent all of his mana doing some extremely efficient stuff. The SA7 dealing 2, cleaning up.
The problem for Dr. J, though, is that while he's got the benefit of switching over to this tertiary deck with the double Big Game Hunter, obviously, and killing off the Giant, he's now getting some of the downside because he's left with another BGH and a Super Collider, I think both of which will be relatively underwhelming from this point forward. He'd much rather have some more minions to throw down.
Yeah. Dr. J spending all of his mana, full clear. His lead doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but oh, that's such a huge draw for A numbers.
Ooh.
The King. He's going to be setting that up for next turn. Next turn, he's going to want to go Lackey, King, picking the right treasure. So how does he set up for that this turn?
So we can go Kobold Lackey on the Golem, dagger down the damaged Golem, eviscerate the Acolyte to deny card draw, and then he still has another Lackey to go Togwaggle next turn.
Okay, and
He can
saw
fit this
all
in
of,
as well.
Yeah, he
Ooh.
saw all of what you said and started by drawing with the random effect first.
Yeah.
Cable Rat.
And getting the Fell Guard as well is huge. Oh, of course, there's the 2 minions that come with the Snip Snap as well. But that's fine. He's all right with that here.
Yeah. Man, that felt 3-5 taunts. That's a good one. That's the kind of thing he needed to get back in this game.
These draws for Jay, they're just kind of bad draw after bad draw. The Augmented Elic is all right to throw down on board, but does he just have to equip the Super Collider this turn? It feels bad.
Ooh, the double Super Collider tech. He just wasn't really preparing for Rogue, was he?
And I wonder if this was even right. Was it correct to switch over to his anti-mage list purely to deal with the Giants?
Well, you saw what the Big Game Hunter did.
I guess
that,
so.
That felt right when it happened.
It did feel
I'll tell you
good.
that.
This feels bad, though.
Yeah. Super Colliders are kind of not that great against 1-health minions. There's a lot of 1-health minions in Rogue, all those lackeys.
Yeah. I love from A8 as well, I want to say, going for the Togwaggle now rather than the Spirit of the Shark. I think that would have been a little bit too greedy and a little bit too weak to Dynamatic.
Yeah, and in a previous game, I liked Shadow Stepping the Togwaggle. Here, I like that he kept the Togwaggle in play as a 5-5. Okay. So one key difference is there's no boom in play, giving Rush to answer it. So the 5-5 is much harder to deal with. And another key difference is he doesn't have a second lackey. So if he Shadow Steps the Togwaggle, he can't actually activate it because this lackey's going to die.
Yeah, I mean, the Togwaggle here looked pretty good. Dynamatic would not have been enough damage to clear off both the minions from A8, so I think it was pretty likely that the Togwaggle would be able to connect face on the following turn.
Yeah, that's an excellent point about Dynamatic. It's a very common play pattern. It's setting up 6 health boards against Warrior to play around Dynamatic. And that's also a big part of why mech decks tend to do well against Bomb Warrior, is because they have mechs to naturally play around Dynamatic. Dynamatic's like a huge shaping force of the metagame.
That's why good players put in Coppertail and Wargear into their rogues.
And look at this. A8 made a board that's weak to Warpath because he had just baited out a Warpath in a previous turn. He says, oh, he used that resource. Let's take advantage of the fact that he doesn't have it available anymore.
I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing on both sides here.
So it looks very costly to clear that Shark. Dr. J is looking at something like swing the weapon, shield block, shield slam. He chooses to swing the weapon first. This way he ends up with more armor at the end of it, or potential future shield slams or Ziliax heals.
He just feels so bad leaving the Shark up, though, because he pretty much knows that there's a Wondrous Wand in hand. Like, maybe A8 would have picked the Crown there, but I think you expect him to pick the Wand with this many cards left in deck.
I think Wand is very often the pick, particularly with Shark. Like, even if you don't have Shark in play, you just have it in your deck. The Wand-Shark synergy is very strong. Like, the limiting factor of the Shark is it's vulnerable and it gets killed, but when you get a bunch of 0-mana cards, it's so much easier to get a lot of Shark double dips going on.
I like as well, I mean, even though we're talking about the Wand plus Shark synergy, I like that A8 is prioritizing the other Battle Cry minions first over the Wand. Like, we could see Life Drinker and then Wand to try and get a little bit of extra synergy even. But I like that he's using the Battle Cry minions first while he can.
Sure. Guarantee you get that Shark value.
Yeah.
And look at this. Ooh. The whole Lackey-Shark interaction is so strong. Because you get 2 Lackeys and then they double dip on the Shark themselves. Yeah. It's beautiful. So he's got a big hand. Strike? Yeah, I love the Sinister Strike. What he wants to do is just burn his opponent out. Right? He doesn't need to draw cards from Shiv. He's already got a full hand and a Shark and a draw 3. Like.
But look at this hand from Dr. J. It's all 3 cards that he teched in, that he decided to switch over to in his tertiary deck. And all 3 of them are doing nothing.
Can we talk about how good A-Number's Super Collider positioning is, keeping that 3/3 Life Drinker away from his Shark so that those don't fight each other?
I shall clap for him now.
Excellent work.
That hurt a lot, but it was worth it.
It's the little things like that that matter so much in Hearthstone. It's so easy when you're playing at home to just kind of not really pay attention and get punished for things like that. And what makes players like Dr. J and A-Numbers so great is that they get these little things right so consistently. And see, Dr. J had the discipline to murder a 1/1 with his Super Collider, which is, it hurts. You know, you don't want to do that, but he knows it's right.
Yeah.
So he does it.
And the Shark surviving for another turn, more value available for A8. And you were talking about damage that he needs to get face. Look at the amount of damage he can get through. Kobold Lackey, Life Drinker. He can even throw in like a Cinder Storm and an Eviscerate on this turn if he wants to.
Oh, yeah. Spots like this, I very often Shadow Step the Kobold Lackey. I feel like turning Shadow Step into 4 damage for 0 mana is
That's fine.
typically exactly what I'm looking to do in this kind of matchup.
Oh,
Ooh, more
Oh.
Sharks. Now, Sharks don't
Oh.
stack. Ooh, 0 mana Cairn.
that's insane.
This Edwin's going to be thick, and it's going to get hunted.
It gets the Shark buff as well.
Oh, it's so big.
Oh,
Too bad.
I am in awe.
Now here he got a little sloppy with the Super Collider position. He's well, he would have gotten punished, but the brawl. Pretty good draw for Dr. J here. Heck yeah.
All right, come on.
That was a top deck. Oh, Edwin almost won the brawl.
I thought it was happening there. I believed for a second.
I mean, it would have gotten big game 100, so it was actually better for Dr. Drjikininki if A8 won the brawl with his biggest minion.
I mean,
Think about it.
yeah, I guess
Isn't
you're
that
right.
ridiculous?
That is absolutely
Dr. J was
ridiculous.
rooting for his opponent to win the brawl. He's like, dang it. I didn't lose the brawl.
But this, oh my god, there is just no slowing whatsoever here. Even with the big game hunter able to take down the giant, just look at the amount of damage that A8 is pushing forward. Consistent pressure. He's still got Bite plus Sinister Strike for 8 more damage on the following turn.
Yeah. I kind of wish he had converted his Shadow Step into 4 damage earlier.
I can see that.
Yeah. All right, well, we can clear here, right?
Yes, with
So
a
you face
swing.
tank the Cairn, you
Yep.
go to 6, you Warpath 5 times, and everything's dead, and then you end up dying to
Including
bite
you.
Sinister Strike.
Yeah.
All right, so what's the alternative here? If we big game Hunter, go to 12, we're still dead.
I don't think he has a choice.
Yeah. So A numbers sticks the Shark, goes absolutely berserk with it, and ties up the series here.
That was much more like it. And I have to wonder here for Dr. J if he will stick with the tertiary deck yet again. He is allowed to switch if he wants to back to his secondary or primary deck. I honestly don't know because it's easy to be results oriented there. Where,
Oh, wait, Dr. J's on the board. 5 more bombs? No.
damn it. Good
I don't think there
vigilance
were
in
enough
your
bombs
casting
in the
there.
decks.
I don't think it was physically possible.
No, no.
But I wonder, because he could switch back to his primary deck. It's easy to be results-oriented and see, okay, the 2 cards he was left with in hand when he lost the game were Big Game Hunter and Super Collider. But at the same time, if he hadn't killed the Giant right at the start of the game, maybe he would have just lost 4 turns earlier.
You know, I think it looked like an unusual pan out in that he drew all of the sideboarded tech cards,
Right.
and they're the kind of cards where you want to draw some, but not
Yes.
all. So it's unlikely that he drew all of them, and unfortunate. And much more often, he's going to draw 1 or 2, and it's going to be more of a good thing. That said, the double Super Collider is definitely weighing him down. And in my testing, having 2 Super Colliders wasn't actually good against Mage. It's very difficult for Super Collider to cleanly answer 2 Giants, because often it's a 7-8 and an 8-8. And the 7-8 has taunt, so you swing at that, and the 8-8 sticks around as an 8-1. So in order for Super Collider to clear against Mage, you need some other minion in play, like a Town Crier or maybe a Slam teched in. But it's Super Collider doesn't line up that well against Mage. Sometimes they Frostbolt you, Mirror Image gets in the way. So I think Super Collider should be generally a 1-of. And that certainly would have helped him in this particular matchup, but I think even just for Mage.
I agree. I mean, to be honest, I am of the opinion now, having cast 3 of the weeks in Grandmasters, that the better sideboards against Mage for Warrior are more aggressive options. I would have liked to have seen Dr. J tech in another Elic, for example, in the anti-Mage list. Just something to get the ball rolling a little bit quicker.
Fairy Dragon?
Yeah, why not? I mean, just something to get on the board early on and get the pressure rolling. I think 1 Big Game Hunter, 1 Super Collider is all right. But I think this might be a little bit overboard, as I did just get confirmation from our fantastic producer, Mike, that he's sticking with his tertiary. He believes it's going to work.
I would too. I stand with him. I think that's a great choice. I think the double Big Game Hunter just lines up so beautifully against those Mountain Giants.
But look at the cards he's removing as well. He removes a 1-drop, Eternium Rover.
Yeah, that's yikes.
Dynamatic.
That's a yikes.
A Wrench Caliber is like...
That's a yikes.
That's a yikes.
You
An
want
Omega
all 3
Assembly.
of those. That card
That's
you're
fine.
happy to get rid of.
And Elysiana you're happy
That's
to get rid of.
excellent to get rid of.
Yeah. But those are some good cards he's losing by switching over to this list.
Yeah, no, Eternium Rover, Dynamatic is one of the best.
I'm not convinced.
Eternium Rover and Dynamatic are 2 of the best.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of rough. You think you should just stick with the primary?
I mean, I am nowhere near as experienced with Bomb Warrior as you or Dr. JR. I'm generally not a sadist, so I don't play Bomb Warrior on ladder.
Did somebody order a bomb? I really love the voice acting, you know. Oh, I love that fuse thing. And then what's the other one? Who is that handsome devil?
Yeah, but the thing is, you're talking about the voice acting when it should be, I love playing this Hearthstone deck. If that's the highlight of your experience on ladder,
well,
I think it's proved my point.
The fun thing about Bomb Warrior is no matter how badly you're losing, there's usually some line of play you can play to where it's like, all right, I shuffle a bomb in his deck, and there's a 0.01% he draws all 5 of them right now. Let's go. I like having outs at the end. At the end of it, there's a... Oh. So Dr. Drjikininki, he had an option to coin 3 into 3 here, which would have been an aggressive early curve to punish Mountain Giant hands. But because he's on the coin, he's just not that concerned about Mountain Giant. Interesting.
I think this is fine. Like he's shown hesitance to go two all in, on an early development plan. Like we saw where he didn't want to go coin Clockwork Goblin because he was afraid of backstab Miscreant, or even just it being cleared off and a tempo swing in A8's favor.
He very consistently doesn't like the coin 3 into 3 lines as Warrior against Rogue. And I've heard Purple say similar things. You know, if you coin 3, then you can't coin the 4, which is the Wrench Caliber ideally here, but Militia Commander also quite solid. And so having those kind of rush removal answers on 4-drop come out sooner is pretty important for surviving the early game. Thick hand for A numbers. He's got a lot of big ones over there.
He really does. And I mean, I guess thankfully for him, this isn't a super high pressure hand from Dr. J, so he has the time to get them down. But having said that, Dr. J is building up a pretty decent little board here.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the thing about thick hands is the Warrior is just often actually ahead on board and pushing damage turn after turn.
Yeah.
And then that gets followed up with bombs in the late game. It just makes it very difficult for the Rogue to survive, potentially. Imagine if Dr. J had a 1-drop, it would have pushed 4 extra damage by now and still be in play, right?
That's true.
Unless he got backstabbed. But no, the backstab's waiting for the Edwin turn.
So a couple of plays available now to Dr. J. We could obviously see a trade in Dynamatic to clear off the board, but I don't think he's in bad enough of a spot to bother clearing off everything here with the Dynamatic.
Yeah, I mean, generally, Hearthstone fundamentals say play your biggest minion and go all face. His biggest minion's a 4/5, and he goes face for 2. And the nice thing about that is the Omega Devastator is a mech, so it kind of sets up to Dynamatic the enemy board and not your own.
Is there any merit to killing off the 2-drop in the Novice Engineer in case of Shadow Step or Witchy Lackey? Or do you like the all-face plan?
Technically there's merit, but God, no, do not do that. No, don't. Why would... If he wanted to Shadow Step the Novice, he could have done that already.
That's true.
You know, okay, so he is going for the Dynamatic this turn. Just kill everything right now. Now, the nice thing about... He's more concerned about Shadow Step on the Miscreant than the 1/1, right?
That's fair.
He doesn't care about the 1/1 getting picked up. So it was a slightly lower pressure line than the Omega Devastator line, but it had the advantage of maybe he gets to get the Omega Battlecry on turn 10 from the Devastator. And it played around some potential lines where the Miscreant ends up getting picked up.
Yeah. Lovely play with the Ziliax here. I mean, even though he's not healing for that much, I think at the moment he's very much just focused on staying ahead or even on board, and this is his best way to do that.
Shark pickup for A numbers is pretty big. He's got a few battle cries in his hand. Quite a few battle cries in his hand. Edwin doesn't need the Shark. 6/6, big enough here. Now, I really like this play from A numbers because it's going into turn 7 from Dr. J. He really wants to play his Death Knight, and so A numbers is setting up for that by applying a lot of pressure on board to punish a Death Knight.
Yeah, Dr. Boom would be pretty miserable to be played here, even with the 7 armor gain. But it does play... I mean, it plays around the Super Collider, I guess, for A8 because it's not a full board clear, but it's good for Dr. J to get some amount of value out of it here.
Yeah, and so this is confirmation for A numbers that he's up against that that big game hunter list again. He knows that for a fact, having seen the Super Collider now. King Togwaggle coming out.
Man, A has been on the Togwaggles every single game. They're doing work for him.
Draw 3 looking good with that Shark.
Oh, yes.
Kind of interesting positioning. Normally you'd want both the 1/1s in the middle, be a little bit cleaner. Because with this positioning, Dr. J only has to kill a single 1/1 with like a rush minion, and then he can Super Collider the big minions together.
Yes, and I mean, the ability to kill off a 1-1 here is actually relatively limited, I think, with both Militia Commanders having gone down, a Dynamatic having gone down.
Shield Slam? I could Shield
I guess
Slam
a
that
Shield
1-1.
Slam, yeah, I guess.
I've got the beast in my sight.
And again, Super Collider looking a little bit silly against the 1 health minions. But that's not really why he poured it into this deck, right? Dr. J wanted to play this tertiary, I think, deck for the big game hunters, for the Mountain Giants.
And I do think that A8 played around the big game hunters as well as possible. He only buffed the Edwin up to 7 attack when he had the another 7 attack minion in play.
Dude, A8 picked up an Armor Smith. That is a really good card for Rogue in a lot of these spots against Warrior. They use it very well, gain a bunch of armor, and Warrior's often on kind of a burnout plan, so that life gain effect is tremendous for countering that. Now, in this particular positioning, Dr. J is not that close to closing, so the Armor Smith's a ways off from really changing things, but generally speaking, that is exactly the card you want to hit as a Rogue.
The Sweeping Strikes, I'm trying to think if there's any synergy with anything in the deck. I can't really think of anything. Yeah, I guess so.
But it's hard to find a Warrior board that's wide.
Right, yeah.
You need to find a wide board to trade into, and that's a little tricky. But it does sort of play to an all-face, ignore the board kind of game plan, because then the Warrior board might end up getting wide, and then you hit him with a Rush Lackey Sweeping Strikes combo. Which
I guess is worth pointing out now that I think we can probably both agree that A8 should be going for the burn plan as much as possible here. With
oh yeah, he's so low.
Oh yeah. The wand here as well, being able to push the damage, hopefully find a Leroy Jenkins, if he's lucky.
0 mana 8/8 seems good.
I'd play that.
0 mana 1/1, draw 2 lackeys, the 2 double. Oh, he hit the Deal 4.
And so even as a Shadow Step right on the left-hand side, so we could see Kobold Lackey, Shadow Step it, Kobold Lackey again. He can discover 2 spells as well. Like, he has too much stuff to do here.
Right. He's making hand size to play the draw a spell Lackey right now, right? He's got 10 in hand, so he's going to go probably Giant for hand size, then Lackey, discover 2 spells, and then make hand size again.
I like the sound of that. If he can get any damage at all, he's looking to be in a great spot. That is not that. It's a little bit of extra draw, though.
Sinister Strike.
That's fine.
Go.
Yep. I
Damage,
think he's
beautiful.
very happy with that. And Dr. J on the back foot again. He's just kind of run out of cards in both of these last 2 games and hasn't found the defensive maneuvers that he's needed.
Yeah. I mean, the Super Collider hitting 1/1 certainly isn't
It's been
going
miserable.
his way.
Absolutely miserable.
And Augmented Elk is a bit of a controversial card in Bomb Warrior. I mean, most people view it as correct, but I've been leaning more towards Acolyte of Pain personally lately. I've seen some other good players on that as well. It's kind of complicated to explain, but it has a lot to do with the matchup against other warriors where your Elk gets Dynamaticked and where it overextends into Warpath because you want to play Elk plus Clockwork Goblin in the same turn.
Yeah.
So it just has, and it's just, when you just play it by itself and it gets removed, it doesn't get an effect, whereas a Clockwork Goblin gets a bomb, or an Acolyte of Pain draws a card. It's just a little bit more vulnerable to removal and more situational.
What distribution were you playing in your decks here at the Masters Tour of Acolytes and Augmented Elix?
I had 0 Elix and 1 Acolyte.
Okay.
And I played against, I think Psycho had 2 Acolytes and no Elix.
Interesting. That's pretty cool.
We were kind of on the same page on that.
Yeah. I trust you and Psycho. I'll take your word for it.
Well, I trust Psycho anyways.
I think that's wise words for any Hearthstone player.
All right, Waggle Pick's a pretty nice pickup for A numbers. That's the kind of face damage we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, this whole hand, the majority of it at least, is pointing pretty firmly all face. Obviously, with Spirit of the Shark, Kobold Lackey, Step, Kobold Lackey for 8 burst damage. He could even bounce it back again with the Waggle Pick on the following turn if he gets lucky.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Waggle Pick's pretty appealing this turn, so that we can get multiple swings with that. I thought that 1/1 was maybe trading. I guess maybe he's going to use his face on that 3/1. Oh no, he's going to run the Armor Smith into the 3/1, isn't he?
Could even go Armor Smith and then Witchy Lackey to trade it up into a 3-drop. Yeah, I like that.
Ooh. That one plays around Dynamatic. Whoa, he's playing for board here.
Wow, and he's already seen Ziliax, I believe, that came down a lot earlier just to try and win board against the Ken.
I guess he's got a sense that there's no Warpath, because a Warpath for 4 here would be really punishing.
But he's just killing his opponent, right? Like, his hand does so much damage, and even if there was a Warpath, he'd just kind of win the game in the next turn or two.
Okay. Well, I mean, I hope, does he have enough pressure to kill Blastmaster Boom? That's kind of an important question. He needs 19. He's got 8 showing, so he needs another 11 in hand. I see 11 in hand. Yeah, that's lethal.
Sinister Strike, Kobold Lackey, Step,
Twice.
Kobold Lackey.
Yeah, with the Shark.
That's exactly 11 damage.
Easy game.
Wow. So close here, and Dr. J just about to turn things back around with the Blastmaster Boom.
But Rogue takes the win. And both of the wins had a lot to do with Spirit of the Shark, I would say, and they had more to do with probably Togwaggle than anything.
Yeah.
Draw 3 0-mana cards, pairing that with the Shark, putting together copious amounts of burn. And, you know, I said Warriors very favored in this matchup, but A numbers kind of proven me wrong.
Yeah, and it's an interesting matchup, and I think A8, even though he was given the hands that worked very nicely, like you said, the Togwaggles every game, the Spirit of the Sharks to help him along the way, I think he had great recognition of how the matchup shakes out, where you just want to go for damage as much as possible in the mid-game, because as it goes on to the late game, like you said, eventually the bombs are going to get you, Dr. Boom's going to get you, Blastmaster Boom's going to come down, which is very difficult to fight back against, but he turned all his cards into damage as much as possible, and it meant that because Dr. J didn't find the armor, he was kind of left just trying to fight for board, which was he just couldn't do against all the value that A8 had.
It was kind of fascinating how big of a role psychology played in this matchup because A numbers was playing those mountain giants. His opponent kind of boarded out some good cards like Eternium Rover and Dynamatic that help him win early board, push early chip damage, and end up in winning positions. So he kind of threw his opponent's game plan off by bringing something wacky and unusual. And that's the cool and beautiful thing about Specialist. When you do something cool and unusual and it forces your opponent to adapt on the fly and try and figure it out.
I'm still unconvinced, I've got to be honest. I want to go and find Dr. J to get his opinion after this match, because I'm not saying he's wrong at all, but it's far from an easy decision, I think, to switch over, because it was clearly an anti-mage deck. It was not an anti-rogue deck that he switched to. But as we can see there, in both of those games, the tech cards just not really finding what they were looking to do. As I believe we now have A8 who's qualified through to, or not guaranteed to the top 8, but likely to have got through to the next stage, I believe, because that was not a win and in for both players. I think that now knocks Dr. J out of contention to go through to top 8, whereas A83650 has a chance to go through to the top 8. And I think with his tiebreakers, he's in with a pretty good shot to be joining some of those players like Hypno, Possessy, Dog, I think is still in with a shot, depending on how his match went here. There's some pretty good players up there.
This is an incredible tournament, top 8. I was talking to my friends and saying, I think winning this tournament, as far as like standalone tournaments go, this might be one of the hardest tournaments to win ever. Just the fact that there's about 300 of the best players in the world here, that's really hard to beat.
It is.
You know, and there's a lot of money on the line too, so everybody really wants it. You know, we're all preparing and trying our best, and you know, you talk to your friends in between rounds about your next opponent and what you can do, and just every little edge you can get.
They want it a lot. They really do. And that's why we're going to go through after a quick break to our other top round 12 matches. I want to personally thank you very much for joining me on the casting desk, Zalay. It's been a pleasure, as always.
I love hanging out with you, Derek.
Give me a high five. Great job, buddy. We're going to be back with more round 12 action right after this.